The next important parameter, ideally a new set of topic which we need to land across onto, is about the final set of measurement and optimization. That is, once we have done so many set of activities, and ideally while we are doing all these kind of different activities in the interface, right from the lead generation process to the other set of processes up to even the mechanism behind creation of loyal customers, having engagement, so on and so forth. Finally, to get this stuff in an order which we can see through effectively and understand effectively, we have the mechanism about the goals workshop, or the mechanism about how we can effectively go forward and measure the activity which we are doing, because since the time frame of a good amount of time, few months or more than few months, you would have gone forward and done the mechanism of capturing the data through the lead generation techniques we have seen through and creating customers from it. But how are the customers coming across and converting, or what is the best method out of the various set of methods available? So all these are some common questions which could be in mind of any particular marketer. Like if I say that I am going forward and sending an email to my list of 10,000 customers, then how many of them actually go forward and do an online purchase, or how many of them remember my brand and buy exactly that product when they are looking for. So this kind of mechanism is something which is important to be reviewed through under the goals part, and it's related to the kind of goals you would have actually set up at the start of your campaign and inputted that value through in your strategy related sheet or documentation, and decided that what is the exact requirement together with your main requirement of lead generation, which you have to measure through or would like to measure through. So for implementing it, you would be required to have a particular tool which does the count of your users, does the count of your forms, etc. online, and through that you could be seeing through the mechanism of the correct data coming through for your website. So there is a particular tool to use across for this, and specifically there is the use of Google Analytics, which people do through for going forward and measuring across the data. And in that, they first input whatever they are looking forward at as an output from a tool like Google Analytics. Means they go forward and input data about whether they are looking to count which channel will help them the most, whether they are looking to count through conversions completely, like sales or signups or a complete purchase done online, or whether they are looking for just branding and visibility of the product and service, or whether they are looking for competing across with other people or with other advertiser on the way. So that's what is the first activity, because before you can start measuring and optimizing, you need to define that goal in a particular tool. And I definitely believe that you would have checked through your element of Google Analytics session and conversion rate optimization session. Even if CRO is not done, that's fine, but Google Analytics session is very, very important to first understand this process of measurement and optimization, because therein you will be learning the mechanism of how goals are set in. So while I will not completely repeat that process because it is something covered in depth in your Google Analytics tutorial, but what could be basically shared is that the tool for measuring across your website data in terms of leads and other mechanisms like sales or downloads, etc., is known as Google Analytics. It's a tool provided by Google for free for implementation on your website. With the help of it, there is a particular mechanism in that tool known through as the admin section, within which there is the mechanism wherein you can go forward and set across your goals. So that particular entity can be done through in the AdWords, in the analytics interface of Google, and from there you will be defining that, first of all, this is the most important element for me, like a complete sale or a complete lead. Secondly, there is some nurturing mechanism which would be happening via not just a very high end lead, but currently still in the prospective stage of buying or non-buying, or currently still not 100% ready to go forward and attend this particular training in a particular location, or even go forward and get through this mechanism working across. So first, under measurement and optimization, the first and most important element is to go forward and do through the part in Google Analytics, and then going forward, past the setting has been done, you will be able to count through the data which will be there in the form of numbers and graphs and understand through the same. Apart from that, for your information purpose, I have created through a set of list of various set of other tools which are available for measurement of data. While Google Analytics is the leader in the industry, a free tool which can give you a lot of details, there are other tools also like Kissmetrics or Omniture, which is a Adobe product, or Clicky or Segment.io or Mixpanel. So herein, the major question mostly which comes through from the end of the student is that from all these tools, which is the best one which I should be using across or available through for being used through. So in that scenario, the answer which I give through in common is that while if there is the scenario that a tool is already implemented in your organization, like Google Analytics is already active or Mixpanel is already active, then in that scenario you do not generally go forward with another set of tool. Means you do not go ahead and try to even use or implement a new tool unnecessarily if a tool is existing or implemented by your company or organization previously. If it is a completely new scenario, then depending on the goals which the company is looking forward at, and depending on whether they are ready to invest some monetary value for a tool or not, you can decide through upon the same. So when that is to be done through, the basic pointer which I share across is that you should be checking through about the integration possibility in a tool. Means ideally whatever third party data can be integrated or not integrated in that tool. Like if I want to do paid campaigns on Google, I do it through a tool like AdWords. If I want to check data about SEO, it is available through something known as the Google Search Console for getting me details about SEO data for my website. And there are similarly many more tools, like if you are doing advertisement on Facebook, then you should be having access to Facebook ads. So here is the scenario wherein you need to decide that if there are various tools for measuring website data, how are you going to go forward? So you need to first check whether they can integrate data from other tools. If they can do it, then bingo, you should go ahead and select that tool. Then you need to decide whether you are looking for free or you are looking for a paid tool. So Google Analytics is a completely free tool to use, and others also have a trial version for using it free for a certain time frame. You can select through from this depending on your organization needs, but as a suggestion from my end, I would definitely prefer to use Google Analytics, as it is a tool used by majority of people, and you also can easily integrate the same. So that's the mechanism in relation with measure and optimize, that first you should be knowing what to measure, which we have known through from the previous activity of goals workshop, that what exactly we want to measure. Are we looking to measure sales? Are we looking to measure click-through rates? Are we looking to measure how we stand across in regards with our competition, or are we looking to measure conversions, that what are the sales, sign-ups, etc. we are getting? So this kind of measurement is to be done through. And out there, to just give you a background about how this measurement works in a general web scenario, as I had said, that there is a particular interface, or there is a particular element within the analytics interface where you can go forward and measure through this data, which is known through as its goals tab. Therein, to give you an exact idea that how a particular measurement happens, like let's say, how is a lead measured on a web page, if that is the scenario you want to understand through, then the typical mechanism which would be happening through is that, let's say that someone goes ahead and comes across on your website's contact form. So I open through any particular website and there is its contact form available through. So in that particular website's contact form, I go forward and fill my name, phone number and other details. So let's say the URL of the contact form is at this particular tab, and then past filling through the name, phone number and other details, I go forward to the tab in the form of the same website goes ahead and fills my data. I fill in my data, then I click across on the submit button on the site, and generally it would then take me to a page which has a message as, thank you for filling across the form, we'll contact across or reach back to you shortly. And then there is the URL, probably a URL change, because this particular page is known as a thank you page. So I'll be landing across on that thank you page, and that will in turn, in further term, get me through or give me a lead. So people, whoever may be landing on this particular thank you page, are genuine set of leads for me, and I need to go ahead and tell Google Analytics that count each and every one whoever is landing on this URL of thankyou.html. So that's the conceptual element which you should understand through in regards with measurement of data. Similarly, if it would have been a sale or a scenario of an e-commerce website, then in that case it would be going in a similar manner, that whatever page you are on an e-commerce website, past you have selected the product, done the billing part, or done the address details provision and entered all the same, you will be going forward and landing on a page wherein they'll be saying thanks for your order, it is confirmed through, and then giving you some details about when would it be delivered, and it would be landing generally on a page which would be maybe having a URL order confirm.html or order confirmation.html. So these kind of change in URL is going to tell the tool that this is a conversion for me, this is something which you need to measure, this is something, the number of people from the whole, because there could be 1 lakh people or 10,000 people who may be visiting the main website pages or its product related pages, but from there is a small chunk, there is a small percentage of them, 2, 5, 10%, who may be turning out. Let's say if there are out of 1 lakh 2,000 people buying a product in a time frame, so then there would be just 2,000 who would be landing on the confirmation page, and those would be counted through as a lead. To indeed show you an example of the same, so in relation with how a thank you page appears or order confirmation page appears, here is one of the screenshots which I like to share through on Amazon, which I received through past completing an order, that thank you, your order has been placed. And if you observe the URL at the top, it has a pattern like thank you, buy/thank you, and then there is some other alphanumeric data. So I need to tell my Google Analytics interface that whenever you find this kind of URL pattern, which is a buy followed by a thank you followed by some other set of data, go ahead and count that as a goal. So that's a mechanism with the help of which you can count various set of goals being completed and actually get data about who are doing through your activity. So that's important to measure through or have this in the form of a measurement matrix for your data mechanism. And once that is done, you would be able to see through indeed the data in this kind of format. There is an particular screenshot from the Google Analytics interface where the goals related data is available, showing through about how many goals are getting completed. That is the number of people who are completing an activity like filling a form or doing a purchase, depending on whatever you have defined. How that data is going forward in a day wise manner, what is the information on day 1, day 2, day 3, and how it is moving across over a time frame. Then there is the data about how many of them from means the total number of people coming, what is the conversions. Like I gave the previous example that out of 1 lakh people, maybe 2,000 people are just buying a product, and that is the conversion related data which is happening. And then there is the bifurcation, like here there is one bifurcation about what is one of their goals. They have multiple goals set in. So one of the goals is filling the contact form. So what is the number of people who have filled in the contact form? Another of their goal is a new sale, means the people who have done a purchase by completing a sale and landing on a particular kind of URL like the one I have just shown you. And then what is the number of that particular entity? Then there is other set goal in the form of number of people spending across more than 5 minutes of time. So that's one more goal which is set in, which is engagement related goal, measuring that whether people are consuming content on my site or are not consuming the same and they are leaving through very quickly from the website. So that's the third goal which is measured. So these all details would be there in your analytics interface, in whichever interface you would be doing through the activity. If it would be Google Analytics, it would be looking through in a similar manner like this. And once you have done this measurement, then you would be having some matrix available for you for working across on optimizing through the same. So that's the first important pointer in measurement. Just to revise through, first to decide on the tool which you are going to use. Before that, to go forward and decide the activity you want to measure. Then past selection of the tool, you will be putting through the data in the tool of how you would be measuring that or what's that activity, how that happens through a change in URL, etc. And finally, you will be having the data available in the interface itself, showcasing the same. So that's the core basic methodology about measurement. Then there is the additional part of optimization which you may need to carry through your Excel sheets or maybe spreadsheets and some data even in an offline kind of sheet which would be used for balancing or auditing of your accounting data. So whatever the scenario may be, even if that's something which you are doing, you need to measure the databases these points. Like these are not just applicable for offline scenario, they could be equally applicable for even online scenario, but it needs to be measured through basis the set of points which are shown or which you can read through in front of you. You need to go ahead and first check that what is the kind of inputs you are giving for activity, means whether what is the resource who is doing that activity, what is the kind of output they are generating in the kind of the activity you have told that resource to implement, what is the kind of mechanism which has been written through by him or her, and then against that you need to check about the response that has been received through from their end. So that's the step-by-step process which is to be done through in relation with your measurement and your optimization work for your product or service itself. And then from that you will then finally get a result in terms of what are the leads or what is the response being generated. So as to keep that simple, and basic example which I could share through is that, let's say you are having a particular Excel sheet into which you are getting that data about your leads or your sales from your offline or other scenario. You simply input through first the kind of inputs that you are going forward and giving through for this scenario, like maybe any resources who are occupied for doing any work. Then from that resource you need to classify across what is the kind of activity which he or she is required to do on a regular basis, maybe required to do through on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis, like let's say writing across 10 articles for SEO, or going forward and doing through promotions of via Facebook. So let's say posting 15 updates per week through the mechanism of social media. So whatever this activity would be, you will need to go forward and check through the resource who is doing that. You need to input through the time factor which is being taken through by that resource for completing the activity, and then basis that going forward you will need to go and measure the output which you are receiving, which could be in the form of the leads generated, means they are going forward from this activity of writing 10 articles, you are able to get through at least 10 people filling your contact form, or you are able to do through the element of probably, let's say, 8 odd people going ahead and buying a product due to the Facebook activity which you have done through. So this kind of offline measurement could also be there, which may be manually required to be inputted through, so as finally you have an kind of idea as to what's the response ratio which you are getting through. And that's the same thing which is being shared across in this particular scenario, where the organization is able to get through 10% or able to know through 10% is the leads data per day. And with that being said, as a measurement plan, the next step is to go forward and optimize across, or optimization in simple terms is a process of reworking your set of activities, reworking through your mechanisms so as you are performing better or having a higher set of a flow coming through about your products and services. So that's what's an element of a optimization plan. The mechanics to do the same is that whatever data you are getting through, in that you first need to, before you forward and analyze it, have some kind of new set of goals coming through from a weekly or a monthly perspective. What I mean by that is, let's say, let me show that through with an example in the sheet itself, that let's say that you have started your activity in the month of April 2020, 16, and you want to go forward and measure your output. So let's say I am looking at optimizing my plan on a monthly basis, and I have some targets and some advancements on each month basis. So what I'll do through is I'll go forward and first have or get a check on my optimization matrix by filling on my month-on-month data. And second, I'll go forward and have some estimate about my output, which could be specifically in the form of leads I want, or specifically even in the form of sales I am looking through at from those leads. So let's say on an estimate basis, I start on that for my first month I should be having at least 10 leads, and from that 10 leads it should be converting across to at least 4 sales. So I'll input through this data in my plan that on a month-on-month basis, this is the expectation I am having, and I am generally working on an element of increasing the leads by 10, the equal number, means 10 turning to 20, 20 turning to 30 month on month, and from them getting through the sales also increased in an equal number, that out of 10 if 2 sales are there, out of 30 6 sales would be there. So there's the first element which I'll be creating as a plan. Now here the main focus is that how would I optimize to get through my data working in these lines, that how will I raise the number of sales, the number of leads, and check through any set of additional stuff that I want to do. So in this scenario, you will first need to make sure that in your optimization plan, you'll need to think through what are the current activities you are doing. Like in the first month, I just do the activity of creation of a blog post. In the second month, I continue with the activity of blog post, but with that, I also start about posting updates on Facebook, and also start across posting it on Twitter. Then in week 3, I go forward and even start across the activity of posting updates on elements like LinkedIn, and I also decide to start across advertising on Facebook ads. And then in the next month, I even start across activity of creating paid ads through AdWords on Google. And similarly, I then incorporate even the element of email marketing in that same month. So here what I am doing is I am having a step-by-step plan as to what all activities I'll be doing month on month, so as it will help me increase my sales. It will help me through to make sure that a sale is done. So with that being seen through or being checked through across, I'll be then having the ability to make sure that I am having an optimized plan, means I have done some thought process on what would be the pointers I need for improving my stats. Secondly, as an element to this optimization plan would be related to going forward and checking data or checking certain elements on a regular basis, like checking through the mechanism of how is the functionality of my particular set of pages, like functionality of my contact form. Similarly, elements like how is my landing page looking like, and optimization of the same, and similarly other mechanisms regarding processes for which I can go forward and implement this part. So that's something which I'll be doing through, or which I'll be checking through in my website on a regular basis, whether there is some element wherein the landing page images are not good, or the landing page content is not good, or my form has some technical loophole, or there is some loophole in, if it is a e-commerce based site, then is there any loophole in my payment gateway, in the process which the user is doing through and not able to get satisfied from my end. So that kind of checking I'll be doing through. And to help us or help the website in this scenario, you could be going forward and using feedback form, or you could be going forward and using even some survey which you can incorporate on your website and get results from your end user about the same. So that's some great set of elements which are there available through for optimizing your end user mechanism. And with this kind of elements being incorporated, you can then make sure that you are having an properly optimized set of user engagement. And to add on additionally to this, in the optimization part, we also have the point about seeing through the loopholes. So as I said, whether the payment gateway is working or not, whether the contact form is working or not, you need to check through the loopholes. Like, the mechanism to do that would be, if you are having, let's say, this kind of graph in front of you about your goals which are getting completed, you need to check that what is the reason for a dip in the goal on one of the particular days of a week, or you need to check that why you are having more number of sales happening probably on a particular day on a week. So this kind of goal checking can help you enhance your optimization plan and take some steps to improve the same. And more mechanics about what or how you can work on these optimization initiatives is definitely there in your particular set of other tutorial under conversion rate optimization. And finally, the last point which I have discussed a bit is about initiating changes, which is more in line with what to do next if there is an issue. Like, if there is an issue with your payment gateway, then what is the technical solution for the same? Whom do you contact in your tech team? Or you should be knowing that the solution for this particular activity of having a non-working payment gateway should be there with the web developer, or a solution for changing the images or the content of the landing page should be there with your content designer, or should be there with the content writer. Similarly, the solution about the functionality of a contact form, or why is a contact form doing a particular activity or not doing that, should be there with the web designer or should the developer of the website. So that kind of acknowledgement based activity should be incorporated, and you should be able to bring through all those parties who are involved in this particular activity and make sure that you have a deadline in relation with the work across or the particular time frame in which they are assuring to complete that activity. Means if the functionality is not good, they may ask through for an exact deadline of 2 days. If the landing page is not optimized, there would be a time frame of probably 1 day or 3 days in which they would be ready to go ahead and take a new landing page working through. The payment gateway may not be working, then there should be the web developer, or even you could be involving the tech team of the payment gateway who would be working on getting you a solution in that kind of scenario. And that should be a deadline based activity, maybe getting completed in some time frame. So I'm just estimating or putting through some numbers so as you have an idea that what all elements should be there. All these elements, right from your first part of what you would be expecting on a month-on-month basis, up to the part of what you will be adding through continuously in your, or what will be your points where you will be working through in your activity, is something important through in the particular set of examples that we are seeing across. So that's the element about improvising or working on your optimization plan. It's a recurring activity, it is a time involved activity, but the output of a good set of growth would be possible if you use across the same effectively. So that's the details about measurement and optimization.